Wilson has come out with a couple of drivers that you just may have heard of. Let's talk about a couple of those. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is the McGolf channel where we talk about golf club reviews, golf club repairs, and golf club fittings. Also, your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit all that stuff across the bottom of the channel, and that way you get more of the videos when we drop. Also, we have a live stream called What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. It's 17:30 or 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Same topics, just more live. You and I get to talk about stuff, and we talk about golf with folks from around the world. So join us. It's a pretty good time for an hour, hour and a half. Wilson typically gets a nod when it comes to the irons. We all know that. You saw the video, and if you haven't, hopefully I'll post it in one of these corners, about doing the 4 hybrid review, and of which Wilson, as far as total distance, came in 3rd place, just a few yards behind the winners as far as yardage goes. However, price for performance, this is a knockout club. It really, really does a good job. So you want to keep that in mind. Now, they've never really truly been too strong in the driver category. The D9 was the last one, had some really cool graphics, was not a world beater by any shape of the imagination, but here at McGolf, when we were doing fittings for those with slower swing speeds, it was a rocket sled. All right, when you got into that 80 or below type swing speed, it was almost as if the technology in the other clubs just decided not to engage. And the simpler club, which is what the Wilson club is, the simpler club worked better, and it would literally outperform the other ones. So again, if you're in that particular category, you might want to look at that. However, the new Dynapwr is a different story altogether. All right, again, we're seeing the whole family. It's a Dynapwr driver, fairway wood hybrid, irons. All right, the iron is very, very strong, and we're going to talk about that in another one. We talked about the hybrid, now it's to the driver. The driver comes in 2 models. It's going to be the TI model, which we are going to talk about today, and it also comes in the carbon model. And what's the difference? Carbon on the top, TI on the top. All right, so what's the difference here? We'll start with some specs. From the manufacturer, the TI model, there's differences here. So there's right-handed and left-handed models. The right-handed model in the carbon is a 9, 10, 5, and 12. In the TI, it comes in a 9, 10, 5, and 13. All right, so there's the difference in that one. And the left-handed models, you just take the 2 lower ones off of there, and there you go. So that's what we're looking at there. 58-degree lie angle and 460 in their CCs. Although I will say the TI looks a little bit smaller at address, okay? And just I think it's the matte black finish. So from a cosmetic point of view, there's some texturing along the back side of this guy so that it's just not this big flat surface of matte black, all right? There's a little indicator so that you can know where to align the golf ball. And on the bottom, they have done some very, very cool, we'll call it, it's almost a murdered out process with some highlights. So the Wilson doesn't necessarily show up as far as the number, but the badge does, and you get a little bit of Dynapwr. It is a very, very, I'm going to call it a cool industrial look, okay? And the bottoms of them, if you were to look at the bottoms look pretty much about the same. All right, they look about the same, but so it's the tops that give it away. All right, so what's the difference here? So what's the difference when we get down? All right, so in these, they have a 16-gram weight that's in the back, and that 16-gram weight is placed in what they call a neutral draw bias. What does that mean? Well, if you were to draw a line across the back end of this club, that the weight would be just below the center line, and that would be the neutral draw bias, okay? Next would be the PKR face, the PKR2 face. Now, here's where AI got involved, right? They did several computer simulations in order to get the best rebound, performance, whatever you want to call it, out of the face. Okay, and so that's just an upgrade version of what they had in the D9. which is a very cool thing. Which means and if it takes place with other AI designs, basically there's this wavy format in the back in order for when your off-center hits aren't nearly as penal. We're going to find that part out. All right. The last part of it is the direction. In the website itself, it talks about direction. Now, in the directions in this website, I really wish they would say for the right-hand golfer, because what they're saying for the TI is that it is more of a draw bias type setup, neutral draw bias, right? Where the Carbon is more of a workable golf club. And what that typically means to me when we see it is that the face on the TI probably sets a little bit more closed, although they won't set. I have yet to measure it, so there's that. And normally when you do that, because the Carbon, what that Carbon does is it's removed some weight, and if everything stays the same, that means we've drug the CG back a little bit more for a little bit higher ball flight than, say, the titanium. The titanium is more penetrating because it's a little higher, and there you go. All right, so the other part that I really like about this club is it's one of the first adjustable clubs that Wilson's put out in a long time. In their driver versus driver, they had some, but since then they've really gone away from that, and that's been a real hindrance for me in the fitting here. Now that they've gone to an adjustable driver, now I can test them side by side with all my other drivers, and that's a good thing. And so they now have an adapter that looks like that. And it's a bit of a different adapter. It's normally what you see is adapters that are cockeyed to an extent, and when you turn them, they really tilt. What this one has is some teeth that are up here, and it starts at a standard, which would be right here. It gives us pretty easy to see the standard. Okay, and then it goes -1, -0.5, +1, +2, and +1.5. So it gets in there, it sticks in there really easy. It's not a very big monster adapter. I think it relies on a ferrule for its dressing, and it is held in with the screw just like every other. So good job on a new adapter for Wilson, and we like that. Now, I will give props to Wilson on their website yet again. They also talk about what these 1-degree adjustments will do. Everybody's asked that. Everybody's, what does the opening and closing do? Well, they tell you on the website. So wilsongolf.com, and go see them and check them out. So now the only thing left is, let's go hit some. So what we're seeing right here is my Wilson TI review. You get to see the 8-iron. That's what I was warming up with. I was actually having a pretty good day hitting, so let's do some testing. Alrighty, so there you get to see the 8-iron. That's fun. All right, the Wilson. We take all the shots, and this is what it looks like. And a little bit to the inside, but, I lost one out to the left, as you can see here, and I pulled on a couple to the right. Now, a little bit more on that. Let's see, we take a look at this. This is 10-hole shots right here. We take 10 out of these 10 shots. Normally when I'm doing a fitting, I only count 3, but what I like to do is I like to show the golfer all the shots that were hit so that they can understand that, no, the driver wasn't perfect every time that we hit it, but this is what you should expect when you are hitting it well. So if we go and do that, we'll just go back and we'll take out some of the wide rights and lefts. All right, and we'll take that one. And I want to get this other one out of here. There we go. So that's 3, and that tightens us up pretty good. And then we want to take out, I'm just going to leave the top 5 in there. So we'll get rid of that one and that one. So there we go. A fairly tight pattern, right? And no more than 20 yards off the line for me. When I figured and I've been pulling the ball lately, so that's no surprise. And getting them out here. One out to almost carrying about 257-ish. We'll see the real numbers here in a minute. But everything about 240, 250, which for me, that's an expectation. If I get any more out of that, then I'm doing very, very well for the elements and whatnot. So if we re-look at what we're seeing as far as a shot goes, it looks a lot like this. Now it's a lot more cleaned up, right? And of course, that's the review that we're looking for, is what is it truly doing? All right, if we look at the table, 241 to 257 being the range, and it looks like about 258 to 260, 248 to 264. And if we look at the average, 247 to 254. I'm not too totally unhappy with that one. Of course, we all like to see ourselves hitting it further, swinging anywhere from 97 to 100 mile an hour with some very, very good smash factors from 146 up to 151 with an average of 148. I would say that is very, 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 very good. All right, 148 smash factor swinging for that. That means I'm hitting it pretty good, and I've got a slight upward angle of attack, which is kind of unique for me, and we did pretty good with that one. Now, the only other thing I want to look at here is, and the shaft was working for me very well. I wasn't all over the map. I don't get it all kind of fuzzy as I have seen in the past, so not too bad. As far as swinging goes, it did pretty good. Nice symmetrical start swinging type area. So if we look at the review again, 247, 254, just shy of 99 mile an hour at 1.48 smash factor, spinning it at 2,700. Now, 2,700 is not too far. We like between 24 to 26 is a pretty good number. So I wouldn't say this is overspinning anything. In fact, for me, if I can get below 3,000, I'm doing very good. So I'm going to give that one a huge nod. A slight draw classification for a lefty with about just shy of 8 yards a roll, which is very, very realistic. We don't need anything to be running out like a worm burner or anything like that. So not too bad. Overall, I would say that this club performed extraordinarily well. One more thing with the flight here. Coming up in the air, and I like how I got up into the air too. That was always a good thing. Okay, nice and tight, nice and long, and very comfortable to get with. So let's go back and talk about who this would fit. All right, so we hit that ball. I mean, this is the first time. Those distances are very, very, for me, beginning of the season, are just dead on. A 147 ball strike is, on average, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for anybody. 150 being perfect, you're 0.03 from that. I felt really comfortable behind this driver. Now, I used the Graphite Design XC6 S. That was in my current gamer, so we kind of had a comparison. And this guy really did a good job. All right, now, when you start seeing the testings of we'll call them gold lists or anything like this, I fully suspect this probably won't be the #1 driver as far as distance goes, but I fully suspect it'll be in the very top, say 10%, maybe 5%, because this has been really good. If you watch some of the other testers out there, there's a fellow from Australia that was killing it. Peter Finch was one that said it was one of the longest drivers he's ever hit. So not too bad, right? And I'm seeing the same thing. So, Wilson very well may have a world beater. So price for performance for certain, right? For certain. You're giving up a couple yards and very about $100 less. That's not bad, right? In today's environment, that'll work out very, very well. So congratulations to Wilson for producing a really, really nice wood. It's from a cosmetic appearance, it's really cool on the top when you're in a dress. It's very cool it's very cool sitting in a bag, and it's very cool when it's being hit, because it works very, very well. Now, I'm a puller of the golf ball, and I expected to be about 20 yards offline, and I wasn't. So there's something to be said with a little bit of control as well. So you know what? If you're out there and you get a demo day or you get a chance to get fit, I consider this as part of one of the requests to try and hit while you're out there. So if you got any questions like this, put them in the show notes below. Don't forget to join us on our live streams. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.